Hey, everyone. It's Dr. Tamara Beckford with Your Caring Docs. That's right, where we help our busy professional women put their health and wellness first, even if it's just for 2 hours a month. Why? Because we have 730 hours in a month. We can take two of them to ourselves. Yes, I calculated it and I looked it up. That's right. So it's so honor right now. It's our honor to bring in a wonderful, wonderful guest. And this guest is really, really, really amazing. I'm going to go over her credential and bring her in Your Caring Docs fashion. So our wonderful doc for today is a graduate from the University of California in Los Angeles, right? She did her training in anesthesiology at the Mayo Clinic, where she did a lot of research even after that in hypermobility and hypermobility disorders such as Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I know a lot of you who are listening who are not in the medical field are like, what is she talking about? You are going to be so in for a treat today because our doctor is the one and only Dr. Linda Bluestein. Woo! Alrighty, so I'm excited today because we are going to be talking to not only Dr. Bluestein about something. We said, what professional women? You know which ones we're going to be helping out today? All our dancers. That's right. Our ballet, our tap, everyone who has been working very, very, very hard in the dance industry. Today is for you. Welcome, 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 Dr. Bluestein. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, wonderful. All right. We're going to start off by, getting to know you a little bit. Right. So what brought you into medicine? Where did this love and this passion for medicine come from?
So when I was probably 12-ish years old, my sister had some pretty major surgery and was in intensive care. Excuse me. And so I was visiting her in intensive care, saw people coming in and out in scrubs. And I thought, that looks kind of cool. And of course, I had no idea who they were, but I feel like my interest in anesthesiology specifically started before high school. I wanted to be a professional dancer, but very early on realized that was not going to work out for me. So I thought, well, what's the next best thing? Maybe I'll go into medicine.
Let me throw away my 20s. Yeah. I love it. So dancing is a passion, right? You said, okay, I'm not going to be a professional dancer, but that didn't stop you from continuing to dance, did it?
No, it did not. I danced all the way through college, all the way through medical school, all the way through residency. In fact, in hindsight, I cannot believe I did this. I was the Sugar Plum Fairy in the Nutcracker when I was in residency, and we had a ticket contest, and so I sold a ton of tickets to my staff at Mayo. And it was like the night before the performance, I went, oh my God, what was I thinking? Like they're coming and they're going to watch me perform. But it was okay. I survived.
Yes. So. Oh, I love it. Wow. So you've been dancing for this really extended period of time. So like you said, even with residency at the Mayo Clinic, where you were doing residency in anesthesiology.
Yep.
Now you also have this passion for the hypermobility, and you started doing research in hypermobility. Let's tell our listeners, what is hypermobility? And then what did this research bring to you, and what did it make you realize for your continued passion?
Right. So hypermobility means that a joint has greater than expected range of motion. Mm-hmm. So it's a descriptor, not a diagnosis. And when I was even as a teenager, I was having problems with joint pain, and I had literally had medical problems all the way back in childhood as an infant. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s, though, that it was identified that I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, the hypermobile type. And so it was after I got my diagnosis that I ended up diving in to figure out how can I make myself feel better? Because my doctor said, this is what you have, but there's nothing that you can do about it. And I was like, well, I don't believe you about the second part. So I'm going to prove you wrong. Right. So I took it as my mission to figure out how I could improve my quality of life. And after discovering some things that worked for me, I thought, well, it would be selfish to keep this to myself. And I really wanted to take what I had learned and help other dancers, other women, be able to improve their quality of life. And so I stumbled upon being a hypermobility specialist. It wasn't something that I had ever planned on doing. My plan A was to be a professional dancer. My plan B was to be a doctor. And my plan C was to be a hypermobility specialist.
Wow. And you know what I love about this stories is the fact that you took something that was supposed to be a limiting belief and you said, no, I know that there's more to this. This story does not end here. It doesn't end with, oh, I'm sorry, Linda Bluestein, you have Ehlers-Danlos. You're just going to be in pain for the rest of your life. Handle it. And you're like, no, there has to be another way. So you dug deep and you dug into the research and you found ways to improve your quality of life. And what I love even more is you said, why am I going to hold this to myself? There's so many other people out there who are suffering, and I can help so many others. And so you're giving this gift out there, this service to others. Wonderful, wonderful. I had to reiterate because sometimes I don't think people realize the impact of all that you've done when you really are sharing this gift and this knowledge with others.
And I do want to say that it's not like I woke up the next morning and decided to do this. It was, there was a lot of grieving that came along with not being able to pursue my dream to become a dancer. I mean, there were many, many tears that were shed. And then when I could no longer practice as an anesthesiologist because of my own EDS, there were a lot of tears as well. I mean, I went through a very, rough period. And so, it's, I feel very fortunate that I was able to figure out my way out. There's a book actually about pain and it's called The Way Out. And I love that phrase. I figured out the way out, and boy, turning it around and being able to use it for good. It helps my patients, but of course it helped me tremendously. Yeah.
Yes. And that's the thing about gratitude and performing and helping others, and it still goes along with your innate sense of still being like able to doctor. I put that in quote because doctor is teacher, doctor to teach and still be able to help, and a lot of times when people think like, oh, you became a doctor for this, and you're like, no, there is this real passion within us to help others because that helps us, and to be able to continue doing that is such a beautiful thing. So now, you're here and you are not only the Dr. Bluestein, you are the hypermobility doc, and I love it. Hypermobility MD was born. So tell us all about that and all about this passion that you have and how you're there helping all our dancers out there, near and afar.
Right. So I wanted to go into dance medicine after residency, after med school, but then I knew I didn't have the upper body strength to be an orthopedic surgeon. And at that time, there were family practice docs that went into sports medicine, but that wasn't on my radar. So I did anesthesiology. I kind of joke that I did a 20 plus year diversion into anesthesiology and then found my way back to the dance world because I was really out of the dance world for that period of time. So once I started having these problems and sorting all this stuff out, and I started realizing that dancers are, they're hypermobile. A lot of them tend to be hypermobile, but it really attracts that person, that type of body type, because they can really excel in the profession, so long as they can build the strength and they don't have. If they have one of the really more severe forms of EDS, then oftentimes they are not able to get to a really high level. But a lot of the hypermobility disorders or hypermobility that doesn't affect a lot of other bodily systems, they can do extremely well as professional dancers. And so like the light bulb went off and I went, wait a minute, this is a way to combine my two loves.
Yes.
I love medicine. I've loved it ever since I, went to med school and everything. And I have always loved dancers. I feel like they are the most passionate people. They work so incredibly hard, and it's getting better in terms of the resources that they have, but it's still not the same as compared to professional athletes, for example. Absolutely. And so to be able to give back to the dance world is something really near and dear to me. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm getting chills because I can just feel the passion to really look at something. You're like, oh, I've worked hard to learn this craft, and then to find out that you're not able to, go on to the next level with it. And then you've worked hard at another craft, and then you've done it for a while, and then you can no longer do it. And then to find that, wait a minute, both my crafts, I can combine them. Like, that is such a wonderful, like you said, it's not something that happened overnight. It takes a journey to get to this place, but to be here and you say, wow, I get to use both of my loves and then help others. Yes, I have chills. And if you're driving and you're listening to this, I would still have chills too. Wow. So now we're on, and, we're helping a lot of dancers. And I know, like you said, you did ballet, and, we have a lot of dancers who do have, we said, a little bit of hypermobility within them, and that's why you're so flexible. And you've been able to, if you're able to build the strength to support these joints, then you're really able to excel in the dance world. But what are some of the common complaints that you've noticed for some of the dancers, and that you're able to help with?
Sure. So it can affect so many different systems in the body. So the things that I look for and I assess are injury history. So, have they been injured frequently? Is it injury often associated without any traumatic event? So is it an overuse type of injury, or is it a traumatic injury? And what's the healing like after the injury? Because sometimes the healing is prolonged, and that has different prognostic indicators. And then also looking at family history and seeing, is there any family history of connective tissue disorders? Those kinds of things are very important. In terms of personal history and symptoms that people often present with, it can be everything, thinking head to toe. Headaches are very common, dizziness. People can get tinnitus or ringing in the ears. Sometimes, depending on if they have, now this, you're not going to make it probably to a high level of dance if you have an unstable neck, but people can have, if their connective tissue is weak enough, they can have an unstable neck. So not only do they have neck pain, but they can actually have problems where the brainstem can actually start to come down into their spinal cord. So they can have coordination problems, dropping things, stumbling into things, even more so than proprioception. Impaired proprioception, knowing where you are in space without looking, is a common thing with just the hypermobility. But then if you take it the next step and it's really coordination problems, now it's a whole, like, you need to kind of assess that separately. So high intracranial pressure, low intracranial pressure due to CSF leaks. So we're still at the head.
And we're still at the head.
Yeah. We're still at the head, and there's a ton of things that can happen. Visual disturbances, problems with, the ability to swallow, problems with voice. We're still above the clavicles, and, it is so many things. And the headaches are, migraine is much more prevalent in the people that have hypermobility and associated conditions. Tension headaches are common. They, like I said, they get high pressure CSF headaches, low pressure CSF headaches, the postural changes with dizziness, all kinds of things. And then, if you kind of start to go quickly or more quickly through the body, gastrointestinal problems with the skin, like easy tearing of the skin, easy bruising, easy bleeding, abnormal scarring, stretchy skin, all kinds of things like that. And then we can also see weak tissues. So hernias, like abdominal hernias, ventral hernias, umbilical hernias. We can see pelvic organ prolapse, and just a whole range of things, joint pain, muscle pain, pain everywhere. Pain is a very, very common complaint. And I'm excited to chat with you. Today is the last day of Pain Awareness Month. Of course, I was excited to chat with you anyway, but
yes, we get to bring additional light to the Pain Awareness Month.
Yes, exactly. Because the thing that is probably one of the things that's most upsetting to me is this sentiment that keeps getting shared that there's nothing that you can do. And that brings a sense of hopelessness to people, of course,
Absolutely.
and that's not true, because there are so many things that we can do. And, it's difficult. It's not like there's a single pill that will fix, that works in everyone and that will fix everyone. But there are treatment options available. There are ways that we can assess and get to the bottom of what's going on, because obviously we want to get to the root cause. So, but those are just some of the things.
Absolutely. And it's good to know. And like you said, you've been diagnosed with this disease or this syndrome. And it's good to know that not because you've been diagnosed, it's like, well, that's it. It doesn't end there. There are ways for you to still be able to have your quality of life, right? You want it to just be something that's just, it's a by the way thing. It's not, well, now this is my life. No, it's just like, I do have that. It's in the back burner. Your quality of life is still in front of you. You're still able to do as many things as possible and still enjoy life. It's not, like you said, this sense of helplessness, of hopelessness, that's going to spiral you into feeling sad and depressed, and you feel as if you cannot no longer be an active participant in your life.
Right.
Right. Yes. You should still be able to take care and have an enjoyable life. So that's where we have our Hypermobility MD, who is here to let you know that that's just a diagnosis. It is not you.
Yes.
Right.
Can you say that again? That you said that so well. Yes.
It's just a diagnosis. It's not you. That's it. Alrighty. So how do we help some of our dancers who are out there, our professional women? You're dancing from morning till night. You have some form and, which is advanced you in your career of the hypermobility, right? So the fact that you're able to extend and you're able to flex better than the average person, you've been able to move on and to advance in these careers. But what are some ways that we can help them? And what are some of the things that we can tell those who are probably starting, listening out? You're 12, 13, 14, you realize, and I have this great skill. So how do we get them to understand the importance of self-care? And what are some ways that they can add self-care to their routine so that they can have a prosperous career?
And I'm so glad that you broke it down by age, because the age of the dancer makes a tremendous difference. So if you are prepubescent, that is going to be a very different scenario than if you're post-pubescent. So if you've hit puberty already and you're having menstrual cycles, then of course, and that can also be impacted by things like disordered eating, which is very common in the dance world. Mm-hmm. But if you are having regular menstrual cycles, which, by the way, we want to have, this is very important. One of the things that I stress the most to my dancer patients is your body needs nutrients. You cannot build healthy tissues unless you give your body the building blocks that it needs in order to build those tissues. If you do not fuel adequately, if you do not consume the micronutrients that your body needs, then you will get injured. And you cannot be a good dancer if you're injured all the time. So, it's a very competitive space. So I get that it's very challenging. But it's so important to take good care of your body in order to have a body that performs when you need it to. So we want to make sure that we are addressing those kinds of things. We want to think about the hormonal changes that happen. There's significant differences in terms of hypermobility when boys and girls reach puberty. So boys, because they have more muscle mass and they have testosterone, they tend to fare much better than females with estrogen. Now, interestingly enough, we know from when there are hormonal therapies in play because someone is transitioning from one gender to another, that gives us even more information about those hormones. So we know that testosterone is protective in terms of not only building muscle mass, but in terms of pain. If a female starts getting testosterone injections in order to convert to being male, they oftentimes experience a lessening of their pain. And so it's very, very interesting. When females start to go through puberty and start to have menstrual cycles, they can experience more joint laxity during different times of the month. So it's very important for them to pay attention to that, because they can be at increased risk of getting injured during those times. So each person is different. And we just want to make sure that they are aware of that and to start paying attention. And I always tell people, with a curious mindset, we know that anxiety is very, very common with hypermobility. And we want to not encourage that anxiety, because that can make things like pain worse, and that can make sleep worse, and those kind of things, and eating disorders and perfectionism, and a lot of these things that tend to travel together. But if we can approach that with some curiosity, okay, yeah, that is true. I do notice that the week before my period, I am more bendy than usual. Maybe I should be a little bit more careful rather than using that and going crazy with it. Maybe instead I should be really mindful about it. And rather than thinking, hey, here's a chance to get some extra, amazing photos for Instagram, which, we're in this interesting space now with social media, because, there are, dance is a very, because it is a visual art, and the aesthetics are so important.
Yes.
There's lots and lots of photos on Instagram and stuff and videos, and
even that beautiful photo behind you, right?
Yes, two of them.
I'm seeing the other one. Wow. And you're right. It's visually, the arc, the back, the neck, and as you mentioned, right, you're more hypermobile, and so you might want to, this week before a period, I can probably flex my neck a little bit more and get an even more amazing IG photo. But like you said, just be careful.
Is that really what you want to do? And if you look back at photos of dancers, if you pull out this lovely book that I have with American Ballet Theater, or look at, my beautiful poster of Paloma Herrera, who I got to meet and is just lovely. That's an incredible photo. But if you compare that to photos nowadays, those are gorgeous, beautiful lines. But nowadays they are more focused on the hypermobility, like the hyperextended knees. The lines are even more exaggerated in a way that I worry about the long-term effects. I worry about what the dancers of today are going to feel like in 10 years, 20 years, because it's kind of like a sunburn. When you're sitting on the beach and you're having a great time and you're hanging out with your friends and you're running in and out of the water, you don't feel that you're getting sunburned at all. And later on that day, then you start to feel like, oh, maybe I did get sunburned. And the next day you're like, yeah, definitely. But what you don't know is that you also got skin cancer, or that you're getting an accumulated.
Yes. It's not rare in its head as yet.
Exactly. You're accumulating that damage to the skin that increases your risk of skin cancer. Well, I feel like the exact same thing is happening in the dance space, that these kids can do these things when they're young and they don't feel pain and they think they're invincible and everything is great. But what about 10 years from now? What about 20 years from now? Are they going to have accumulated injuries and really run into a lot of problems, whether they're hypermobile or not?
Absolutely, absolutely. When we love the beautiful lines and the extra extension, but if you're doing it continuously, if we get one shot and you're, but if you're doing it continuously, because that's not what you're known for. So if now you're known for that, that's what's expected on a consistent basis. And what is that doing for you and your joints in the long run? And that's the concern.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, dancers are athletes. I mean, continue.
They are. They are incredible athletes, and they need to make it look easy. Yeah. So they become masters at hiding their pain. That's the other thing. So there is a blog post on my website that I hope people will check out. It is incredibly well written. And it's all about, how the dancer should be aware of their body at an earlier point in time, because, you can dance is all about movement. Mm-hmm. And so if you can pose for all the great images that you want, but this blog post was written by Isabella Gasparini, who is a Royal Ballet soloist. Mm-hmm. And she wrote about, acquiring knowledge of the body is the title of it, mm-hmm. and how she learned about injury and, that you have to take care of yourself because you can't dance if you're injured. So, don't just go for the fancy, photos, but, it's all about the movement.
It's all about the movement. And that's the thing about dancing, right? I'm pretty sure, dance it's a combo of art and athleticism, and it also invokes a lot of passion. So mm-hmm. when you are in the moment and you're really going at it, you might not notice.
Yes.
The aftermath. And so it's good to be aware. And if you notice afterwards, like that, wow, really, that particular spin really made me feel that way, then these are times for you to assess.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Mm-hmm. That there's actually something called exercise-induced hypoalgesia, meaning mm-hmm. that while you are exercising, you are releasing chemicals or hormones in your body, mm-hmm. neurotransmitters that are suppressing the amount of pain that you feel. Mm-hmm. So when you hear about the football player who, broke their leg and kept on playing, mm-hmm. In part, that's why you don't feel it at the time. So, but that doesn't mean that it's a good thing. Yeah, exactly.
In the aftermath. Wonderful, wonderful one. I think this is so fascinating. And I think that we're going, and we can go on and on forever, but we have to be respectful of all our listeners and our time. So one of the things that I do want to know, we've talked about the self-care in our dancers and how important it is for them, but I want to know for you. So what do you do for self-care, Dr. Bluestein?
Well, that is a great question. So it's a lot of pacing. Mm-hmm. So learning how much you can, like we were kind of talking about, but for me, I'm not dancing like this, mm-hmm. but learning how much I can do and paying attention to, I walked that much. And then this is how I felt later, and not it's important not to dramatically change the load. So, and I'm a work in progress, just like everyone else.
Me too.
Was it a year and a half ago that I made the mistake of thinking that I could go on a trip with my family? And this is pre-COVID. This is right before COVID happened. Mm-hmm. And thinking that I could go from, my normal like walks in the neighborhood to real hiking and get away with it. And I had my Achilles tendinopathy was flared up for months afterwards. I mean, it was terribly painful. But anyway, so that's one thing, paying attention to how my body feels and trying to respect its limits and not make it have to scream at me before changing something.
Because a lot of us are stubborn.
So that's one thing. Right now I'm back in physical therapy. I'm a lifer. I'm a physical therapy lifer for sure. I'll go in for a while. I'll be good for a while. I go back in for a while. Right now I'm in physical therapy for TMJ dysfunction. And I use on my jaw, I was looking to see if I had it right here because I used it for an IG live just the other day. I use a red light device on my jaw. I use some different topical things. I use a variety of tapes and supplements and sleep hygiene, super important. Try to get really, really good quality sleep.
Oh yeah.
Sleep pillows.
No, I mean, I think that's one of the most, I was talking to a sleep specialist. I interviewed her and I said, I just don't have this great relationship with sleep and I'm really working on it, but she doesn't like me. And she said something so interesting, the specialist. She said, no, sleep loves you. It's just that the squeaky wheel gets the oil and we tend to do everything, and sleep is not a squeaky wheel. So we tend to do everything and put her behind. But then she needs to be put importantly in front, just like everyone else. And you said, I thought it was just such a poignant, information, because you're right. Sleep is not going to say, you need to sleep, but we'll always say, oh, I need this, I need to get this done, I need to get this done. Right. And like, even like you're saying with your Achilles tendinopathy, it's making noise. So what are we going to do? Oh, let me fix that, right? Sleep, she's not making noise, but she's just as important as everything else. So I love that you said sleep hygiene is one of your self-care.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And actually, if I must confess, I actually covered up my Achilles pain and then was like, I'm just going to go and hike, which in hindsight was just so dumb. I mean, for whatever reason, I thought that I could kind of suppress it. I wasn't taking opioids. That is not the answer. But I was using a variety of like tape and things that, anyway, so yeah, we learn. I mean, that's the whole other thing is I'm constantly trying to learn through my own, experimenting of things on myself, what works out the best. And so I have balls in my house that I sit on in order to lean over and pick things up. I had major spine surgery. So I actually had a sacral laminotomy. So they cut open my sacrum, which is you know what the sacrum is, but for those that don't,
for our listeners here, tailbone.
Yeah, for our listeners, yeah, it's the big bone on your low back, that solid piece of bone. I had that cut open, so I sit on cushions and I sit on a ball and lean over. My neurosurgeon had suggested that I do that. So it's a variety of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the thing that they said with all of this, you are learning so much about your body and about limitations and how to heal and how to bring comfort. And then you're using this and helping so many others. And, so it's as if you found a way to channel all that you were going through. And it's like, I didn't go through all of this for naught. I went through all of this in order to really help. So it's one of me. But the one Linda Bluestein is going through all of this and now is helping thousands of other people with the experience of one, which I think is just magnificent. It's just beautiful. Alrighty. So now we've dug into your self-care, but we want to know, if you weren't a doctor, what would you be?
Well, definitely a professional dancer was that was my dream ever since I started when I was, 4 or 5 or however old I was. So that is definitely, I wanted to be a ballerina, a professional ballerina. So
it'd still be a ballerina. Would you tap into different dances or different aspects of dance, or would you think it would be ballerina?
It would be ballet. I love so many different forms of dance, but ballet is the one that I am most drawn to. Yeah. Oh,
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Wow. So I think that those who are listening to this, those who are dancers, those who have family members, friends, others who are dancers, they're probably listening and they're like, wow, there's a doctor out there that's dedicated to really taking care. She understands me and understands my passion. Where can I find her? So tell us, where can we find you?
So the easiest place is to go to my website, which is hypermobilitymd.com. Mm-hmm. And from there, you can see my podcast and my blog, which I don't really write on as often as I probably should, but, get more information about me and my practice. And I do offer workshops for dance studios. I do one-on-one work as well as group work.
And wonderful, wonderful. And that's one thing I want to share with you all this. Listen, like I said at the beginning, she is here for not just local, but international. So anywhere that you are listening to this, you can just jump online at hypermobilitymd.com, and Dr. Linda Bluestein is here to help you out. I had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time. Like we said, today is the last day of Pain Awareness Month, right? Tomorrow at this particular recording, we're on September the 30th of this recording, and tomorrow is the beginning of October. We here at Your Caring Docs, we have an empowerment and inform. Yes, we have an Empowerment and Inform mini summit that we are starting, and it's going to be the last week of October 25th to the 28th, where we are bringing awareness to Women Cancer Month. Yes, so we have 4 different speakers. It's pretty wonderful. So for day 1, we have Dr. Lorna Rodriguez, and she is going to be talking about ovarian cancer. She's a specialist in California. On day 2, we have Dr. Minako Abe, and she is in Tokyo, and she's going to be talking about immunotherapy. On day 3, we have Dr. Mitra Ayazafar, and she is an ovarian cancer survivor and an ophthalmologist. So she's going to tell us about her journey. And on day 4, we are having a live speaker, Dr. Abina Brewster from MD Anderson, who is going to be talking to us about breast cancer, answering all our questions on breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. So we have to have you all join us. It is free, and you can watch this all from home. Yes, it is free.
Wow.
And you just have to go on our Your Caring Docs website. That's right. That's www.urcaringdocs.com and register. We would love to have you, everyone who's listening. Yes, come and register for this very, very free event on Your Caring Docs. So thank you, Dr. Linda Bluestein. I'm giving her a hug from afar.
I'm giving you one right back. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, this was a wonderful, wonderful, and this was a unique one. And that's the thing I love about this. This was a very, very unique interview, because we were talking to our professional dancers, and I don't think we've been able to direct us to that sector. And, we'll say our professional dancers, athletes, because like I said, they are athletes, and they're working just as hard as we did in residency. So thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful time, and join us for our Women Empowerment Summit on women and all our ovarian and breast cancer. We will see you guys next